pastors annually take a missions trip. They go on a missions trip to Cuba. They support a number of pastors and a number of churches, and they take on some material aid. And I was in Italy a few years ago. I was attending a pastors' conference, and I was visiting some churches, and one of the pastors that I've known for a number of years said, so Rocky, why don't you come to Cuba with us? I mean, it'd be great to have some representation from Australia. And I said, well, why would I want to go to Cuba? I have no intentions of going to Cuba. I've been to other places. It just didn't sink into my heart at that time. And this was before Jesus is the Way, before we came to Jesus is the Way. When we got here and we got involved with the Latino community, and another invitation came after some of my colleagues in Italy found out that I was pastoring a Latino Australian church. They said, maybe this is a good time. So visiting Italy again, then I got cornered and said, you've got to come to Cuba with us now. So something definitely dropped in my heart when that second invitation came. And then I shared with some of the leaders here at Jesus is the Way, and it gelled with them as well, that we as a Latino church could do something positive in a country that really needs some help, whether it's material aid or whether it's spiritual encouragement, and for them to know that there are other churches around the world that actually care for them. Impressions of Cuba, a country that needs a lot of different things. It looks as if the place had stopped in 1959 when they had their revolution. Hotels and the cars that they drive, it's actually amazing. It's a beautiful country, but it lacks a lot of resources, whether it's governmental resources, lack of things that even the average person needs. Most of the people live in very modest domestic type of homes that they share with others as well. Food can be scarce, the petrol can be scarce, all sorts of things, could be rationed and things like that. Even the airport itself, it sort of like took me back to something that an old airport that I visited once in another country. There's impressions. Look, you're stepping back in time, if I can say that. The mission group that we're part of, and I'm glad to say that even Jesus is the Way a part of this mission group now, we're supporting a number of pastors and a number of churches. I'm glad to say that we're actually doing something very positive by helping some churches with building materials so they can finish off some construction. We're helping some other small church groups purchase a modest property so they can have services. Even assisting some pastors. For instance, there's one particular pastor who had a very difficult time to get around, so we supported him with a motorbike so he could use that to get around and do his pastoral work. Even things such as helping to support a pastor for a day so he doesn't have to work out in the fields and can do some pastoral work, those types of things. The Lord challenged me. My heart really sank deep when we went to this village. I don't know where it was. The bus trip to this village took hours, and there were some guys on horses getting around. I think there was the odd car, but there was just dirt tracks, no real roads. And we got there, and there was a church service going on in this building that looked like something out of the Beverly Hillbillies, the shack that they lived in before they moved to Beverly Hills. And this ramshackle shack that was just held together, I think, by faith. And they were so full of joy and energy and worship But the sad thing about it was that they were going to be evicted because it wasn't their building, and they just didn't have anywhere to go. And we met together. Not that they were telling us this; we were told by some other people, and the pastors from the missions group decided to do something about this and help this pastor, this lady, to be relocated somehow. And I believe that had taken place, and they were doing something about it. You know, the pastors there and the different leaders in Cuba, they often have a lot of contact with us. And they are so grateful and so happy to know that there are fellow brothers and sisters outside of Cuba that have taken an interest in that country to help them in so many ways, help them with material aid, help them with some finances so they can just do the work of the ministry, help them with prayer, help them with friendship. And this feedback comes back to us here in Australia and in Italy and Argentina, and Germany, all that, the group that were part of that missions trip. They're so grateful, and they actually send us messages to encourage us as well. The work of the ministry with this missions trip isn't just so much so we could actually be informed about what's going on in the churches there in Cuba, but also something very practical to build bridges of relationship with the pastors and leaders in the churches over there. And this is what's been happening. And I believe one day we'll be able to have one of those pastors here with us, so we can actually bless them with seeing what's happening in this country and continue on with friendship relationships as brothers and sisters in the Lord. So my message to the church, Jesus is the way, our church, is that when we go to Cuba, for instance, the last trip we did, which was the first trip, Chris and I, we were on, we actually brought the church with us. Now, obviously, physically that wasn't possible, but we represented the church wherever we went. We brought the church's greetings to the various pastors and the groups that we met. And I think it's important for everyone to know that all those that belong to Jesus is the way, is that it's not just a one-man band here, what we're doing. We're actually bringing the heartbeat of Jesus is the way to Cuba, and the Cuban people really appreciate it. So I would encourage everyone that's part of the church, part of Jesus is the way, that when we do a special offering for Cuba, pray and really think about what you want to do and how you want to contribute towards this, because they really do need some help over there with resources and all sorts of things. So we will be taking another trip once it's possible, once the borders are open and the COVID crisis will be over. We want to take a team from Jesus is the Way. That team will have to have a limited number because we don't want to empty the church, because I know there's a lot of people who'd like to come. So I'd like everyone to pray about our mission involvement with Cuba, because it is a strategic country and there's a lot happening there. There are some 2,000 Pentecostal churches that are active in Cuba, and they lack resources, but they have a lot of faith. And I believe that it's very strategic for churches to be active in that country, and I believe that they'll have a great influence with the government as well. So keep praying and keep believing that we as a church will be involved, and we want to be involved. Amen. Bless you.